the Maven, possibly the most challenging boss in the whole of Path of Exile. In this guide we'll go over all of her mechanics, and I'll teach you how to defeat her. But first we have to find her in the absence of mercy and empathy. For this we need to collect 10 crescent splinters. We get these by completing Maven invitations. The harder the invitation, the more crescents are likely to drop. These range from killing multiple map bosses to killing multiple endgame bosses, all at the same time. Combining 10 of the splinters will give us a Maven's Writ, which will open the portal to her realm. And without further ado, into the fight. To start the fight we need to run over to the Maven and stand almost under her. You will notice as well as the Maven we also have a giant brain with tentacles behind her. This is her real form or something, who knows. Throughout the fight the brain will continue to fire things into the arena that we need to be mindful of. The first phase is quite manageable, she only uses a handful of skills. When she shouts a cascade of pain she fires 5 sequential balls at you. These pierce all targets and do a moderate amount of damage. These are unlikely to kill you unless every single one of them hit you. Whilst the fight continues, the brain will fire in 3 projectiles. These chase you and upon making contact drop a gravity well. This deals cold damage over time and slows you while you're in its area. You want to try and get all of these to drop in the same area, as ground-based degens in the game do not stack. These areas will get removed at the end of the first couple of phases of the fight, but in the final phase they stay around until the very end. The easiest way to fail this fight is to not manage these balls correctly. After we first down the Maven, we'll get to the first brain phase. When it says pain will be returned tenfold, time contorts or reality bends, you're about to get a brain blast. This spreads out from the centre of the arena to the edge of the normal arena. You need to get onto the platforms at the edge, so keep track of these throughout the fight. This does huge tri-elemental damage and bypasses block and dodge chance. And in the unlikely event that you survive, it also inflicts ignite shock or freeze. After this the brain will project 2 beams from either side of it, which will rotate around the arena. At all costs avoid making contact with those beams. But more on that in just a few. During this phase the Maven will start to summon map bosses. She can summon any map boss in the game, which can make this section really difficult if you get the wrong bosses. Once you kill all of the summoned map bosses, the brain will retreat and the Maven will return. At this point all gravity wells will be reset. We are now about to get to the most irritating part of the fight, the brain game. The brain game is started with the words "death will not be an escape." Shortly after this, the 3 sections of the arena may flash in purple. You need to remember the order of the flashes, and then once they complete you need to run through those flashes. There is also a time limit. As soon as the flashes finish, the Maven will start to channel a circle in the centre of the arena. Initially this just slows you and causes damage over time, but if the circle reaches the edge of the arena or you complete the brain game successfully, the circle will explode, dealing huge tri-elemental damage which will kill pretty much all players. Making a right move in the memory game, the ground will flash green, making a wrong move will cause it to flash red. If it flashes red, the circle in the centre of the arena will accelerate to the edge, blowing up and destroying you. You can avoid death by logging out, back in, and then sitting in the invulnerability phase until after the explosion. If the Maven shouts "stand still," she'll fire 3 beams from either side of her, cutting across the ground towards you. These will deal moderate damage but will be unlikely to kill you. If the Maven lives long enough, you'll start to see volatile orbs circling the arena. These explode on contact, dealing lightning damage. We should try and stay away from them if possible. You'll notice here that I screwed up the gravity wells, creating 2 lots of them around the arena. Luckily this is still in a phase that will reset. Another brain phase ensues and her beams are back. This time I touched them deliberately to just show you what happens. You'll see that the moment I touch them, not only do I lose 10% all res, but I also lose all ability to recover life or energy shield, which is very, very bad. The degen that is applied by these beams is called Maven's Punishment. It's also applied by other beams later in the game, I'll point out when this happens. After this, another memory game, and I'm feeling a little daring, so I'm going to run through the centre just to show you what happens. And as you can see, very large slow and dot. In fact, so much dot that I almost died. Now we get another Maven and Brain phase, and we're going to speed this up just because she doesn't use anything new. However, note that any gravity wells created during this time will persist throughout the rest of the fight. Notice at the end of this that the brain dies. It will no longer attack us while we fight the Maven. However, we have a different challenge now. There are 5 lightning beams shooting out from the centre. These not only deal lightning damage, but also apply Maven's Punishment, doing that thing with our regen again. Now there are gaps in these beams you can walk through to avoid the degen and the damage. You can also dash through them if you have a teleporting movement skill. A walking movement skill will still get the debuff. But that's not all. During this phase, we're still going to play the memory game while these beams surround us. I do truly terrible at this, dying twice. During this phase she also fires large fiery balls at us. These are not as scary as they look. They will do a lot of damage, but they're unlikely to kill you. After not dying at all during the first couple of phases, I then died 3 times in total in the final phase, 2 to the memory game as I said, and 1 to running into the beams and then running over the degen on the floor. The key thing is to try not to panic and make sure you watch the memory games in the last phase. Had I done this, I'd have only died once. When the Maven dies for the first time, she will drop the final Void Stone, assuming you've killed Uber Elder already. If you're enjoying the content on my channel, then please consider subscribing, it will help me out a lot. And with that, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.